My name is Marcus De Brun. I'm 51. I'm from Dublin. I'm a general practitioner. I've been practicing medicine now for almost 20 years. And before medicine, I was a microbiologist. And after that, I was a member of the Irish Medical Council. And now I'm working in general practice in North Dublin. I don't like talking about how this crisis has affected me personally, because so many people have died, and it has certainly affected them and their family a lot more perhaps than it has affected me. But certainly this crisis has turned my world upside down. I think the most difficult aspect for me throughout this crisis was, before COVID, I was a respected member of the medical community in Ireland. I was a GP with my own practice. I was a member of the Irish Medical Council, and all of that has been turned upside down. I was turned into some sort of a pariah by my former friends and former colleagues. So I was put into a very, very lonely and isolated place, and that's been very, very painful, and all the more painful perhaps because I felt isolated even from members of my own family, and there was a degree of isolation between myself and my wife because she was hurt by a lot of the narrative that has been spoken and a lot of the fallout, or the consequence that I've endured for saying things that I fundamentally believe to be true, believe to this day to be true, and will forever believe to be true. You know, there's a morality here that's been compromised, and there's a guidelines and a narrative that's been spoken, and yes, I would be at variance to much of that, and that has put me in a very personally lonely place. So yeah, I'd say the biggest consequence to me personally has been this overriding sense of intellectual and professional loneliness that's had a reach into my family life and my private life, which I never could have envisaged. One of my biggest concerns about this crisis at the moment is this notion of vaccines. I don't believe what's been given out to people, and I'm not alone in my belief, but I don't believe what's been administered to people in this mRNA vaccine is actually a vaccine at all. This is entirely different. This is new ground. We are doing things with medical science that we've never done before. mRNA vaccines have never been used on a wide-scale public use before like this. So this is entirely different. This is we're playing, or politicians and scientists and drug manufacturers are playing a language game with us, and lots of people are going to be the victim of that language game. So I would strongly urge people to scratch the surface and look deeply into what these are, what they are being injected with, and how that process works. And I believe in my heart that any medical doctor who promotes this new gene therapy without understanding what it is and what's happening is guilty of some significant negligence as far as I'd be concerned. How are we going to navigate out of this crisis? I wish I had all the answers, or I wish I had the answer to that question, but two things I think are important to me. You know, the first is the media. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be part of an underground movement, but you know, we have to steer clear of mainstream media. You have to think about the narrative and think about what you're being told. You have to scratch the surface, and you have to go to the underground, wherever that is, and look at the facts and look at the information and look at the scientists who are making sense, and they are out there. We have to look for them. The other thing that's important to me and is an important tool for navigating out of this crisis is yourself and your family. You've got to look at your own strengths. We've got to think about your artistic self, your philosophical self, your creative self. You've got to try and find, whilst you're locked down and locked in, you've got to try and find a space where you can become a happier, stronger person. And you've got to look at your family and, most importantly, enjoy your family. And if we're locked in and suffering consequences here, if those consequences can make us stronger, better people, then we will be in a much better place to navigate out of this crisis.